The DC shared film universe, known by the name of the DCEU, has finally come to an end, and after 10 years of delivering underwhelming, poorly written stories, with a few nuggets or two of films that aren't a complete slog to get through, I think it's fair to say that the DCEU needed to end sooner rather than later, especially after being outperformed by their other standalone projects.
Fuck! 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 Fuck!
One thing I wasn't expecting was which movies would be the final movies that end the DCEU, and as such I find it hilarious that with all the possible films they could have released, with all the interesting and expansive ideas that are part of the DC mythos, 3 of the final 5 they went with ended up being individuals that are all associated with lightning, giving you a stunning display of the creativity going on with the Warner Bros. Executives.
And yourself, Dougal, what would your 3
superhero films
be? Oh Lord, I don't know. No, I'm happy enough, really. Really? You wouldn't want anything at all? No, I don't think so. You wouldn't say want
a lightning-themed superhero film.
Oh, wow. That'd be fantastic.
A lightning-themed superhero film.
That'd be one, yeah. Oh, brilliant. And what would be your second
Film.
Oh, no, that'd be fine. No, the
Lightning-themed superhero.
would be fine.
Another lightning-themed superhero film.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, I'd love...
Another lightning-themed superhero film.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. Your third
Film.
if you had one. Oh, no, that'd be fine. No. You wouldn't like, say, this...
Lightning-themed superhero film.
Oh, God, yeah. I'd love that.
Lightning-themed superhero film.
If I had that,
Lightning-themed superhero film.
that'd be fantastic.
Another thing that these 3 movies had in common is the fact that each and every one of them had embarrassingly poor script writing, and all of them bombed at the box office. Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and The Flash are all textbook examples of having too many cooks in the kitchen, with far too many people trying to add and change things during pre-production, production, and post-production. So I thought it would be a fun little idea to have a look at these 3 films and highlight the problems with them. I know, I'm a little late to this party, but I mean come on, look at them. This isn't designed to be an in-depth look at them, just the funniest, worst aspects of them. Starting with the legendary Black Adam.
Here we go. Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam. He would them all. Black Adam will bring the thunder.
Before we actually get into the plot of Black Adam, here's 2 things to consider when trying to create a story. Because for me, a good script and a well-directed film make sure to take into account even the smallest details and make sure they're perfect. And if they can't do this, then there's a good chance they'll suck. Number 1. You remember Transformers: Age of Extinction? I knew that that film was going to be an absolute train wreck as soon as I heard Mark Wahlberg's character talk. You see, Mark Wahlberg is from Boston, and every time you see him in interviews and most of his films, he always talks with that specific accent. So when the character he plays at in that film starts to talk in a Boston accent, despite the fact that Cade Yeager is supposed to be a Texan-born American who has lived there his whole life, I knew the film was going to be bad, because they couldn't even get the correct accent for the situation.
This could be a game changer for me. If I can apply that technology to my inventions, we never have to worry about money again.
I'm an inventor! Black Adam suffers the same thing. I have no idea why they thought a Middle Eastern born character who has lived in the Middle East their whole life should have an American accent. But that's an utterly ridiculous thing that they decided to have in this movie. I understand that there's no way to know how people from thousands of years ago sounded like, but there's plenty of adaptations of the character that have accents that fit the character.
Amusing. The wizard finally gave you your powers, but neglected to show you how they worked.
We will, Kara. Just like you and I freed Diana from Themyscira.
So I don't know why they just wouldn't do the same thing here. Number 2. When you make a film called Black Adam, please try and make sure that the most interesting character in the script who has the best character arc is Black Adam, and not Dr. Fate or Hawkman. When I first heard reviews about the film, all I heard was about how Pierce Brosnan was amazing as Dr. Fate, and the arc he has with Hawkman was good. And I heard basically nothing about Dwayne Johnson and his portrayal of Black Adam, and I totally understand why. Don't get me wrong, even their characters aren't amazing, but the actors do enough with the scraps they're given to make me enjoy them. A lot more than I enjoy Black Adam, who really doesn't have enough in either acting or substance for me to care about him. So, let's take a good look at Black Adam.
No, 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 no. top of his head!
Leading up to the film's release, Dwayne Johnson promised that the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. And I mean, he was right. You see, in the past, the projects of the DCEU, even if they didn't do well at everything, they at least managed to either do well with critics or do well at the box office. Black Adam managed to change this hierarchy by failing to do well in either of these departments, being a massive box office bomb and receiving average at best reviews. So congratulations, Dwayne. I guess this was the film that helped you realise that pinning your acting career down to charismatic dude, and charismatic action dude really isn't going to get people invested in your performances anymore.
You know that 90% of household dust's made of dead human skin. That's what you are. To me.
It's also prevalent that this film did not give a shit about connecting itself to Shazam in any way unless it absolutely had to, as well as retconning other parts of the universe to fit this story. Apparently Black Adam was going to be used in the Shazam sequel to be a foil to Billy Batson, but Dwayne Johnson insisted on his character being the main character in his own standalone film, and that Shazam was not allowed to make an appearance. Which I think is stupid for a number of reasons, but mostly because this version of Adam is a lot more of a heroic figure than in the comics, where he varies between anti-hero and villain. But here he still dips into bad behaviours, and I think having Adam and Shazam working together to eliminate the same goal but highlighting the differences between the two would have been a great dynamic for the film.
Such wasted potential.
Instead, this film ignored Shazam and even decided to retcon what little we knew about Black Adam's character. We were told in Shazam that the Wizards had previously chosen Adam as their champion, but after he recklessly used his power, he unleashed the 7 deadly sins into the world. In this film, not only is the 7 deadly sins not even referenced or acknowledged, even when the Wizards try and imprison him, but it turns out that no, actually, they didn't choose Adam as their champion, he just got the powers from being transferred them, which kinda defeats the motivation of the Wizard in the previous movie, because even if he did find someone with the moral character that he wanted, anyone they choose could just pass the powers on, undermining the point of the vetting process that he set up.
You stupid!
On top of retconning the Wizard to being a dementia-ridden old man who can't remember things properly, Black Adam also turned him into an idiot who has no idea how to imprison things properly. Don't get me wrong, he didn't do the best with the 7 deadly sins, as when Dr. Sivana manages to get into the Rock of Eternity, he just walks up to the stone and takes it. But you could at least argue that it was kept safe in the Rock of Eternity, and that the Wizard wasn't expecting anyone to get into it. Meanwhile, in this movie, the Wizard's grand idea of what to do with the crown that imprisoned Adam is to just stick it in the centre of a room, completely exposed and just waiting for the first person to come across it to release him. This guy killed 6 of your brethren? Why would you just dump him in a cave without any sort of security system?
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
Another aspect of this film that I find hilarious is just how the film tries to approach the idea of killing. One of the promotional pieces of this movie is the idea that Black Adam is unique in the DCEU because, unlike the other heroes, this is a hero that kills. But that isn't true. Of all the characters that we've seen in the previous films of the DCEU, the only ones I remember off the top of my head that haven't directly killed any humans have been Flash, Cyborg and Shazam. Aquaman, Superman, even Batman in this universe have killed in the past, and this version of Wonder Woman is a complete fucking sociopath, so this film trying to hype this up is hilarious.
Bible, for example, like Black Adam has all the powers of Superman, but Superman won't kill because he has a code of honor and a code of ethics, which we appreciate and love, but Black Adam will kill you. But Superman won't kill because he has a code of honor and a code of ethics.
Krypton had its chance!
But Superman won't kill because he has a code of honor and a code of ethics. But Superman won't kill because he has a code of honor and a code of ethics.
It doesn't even do a good job at talking about the nuances of killing. There's a hilarious scene between Adam and Hawkman when they get into an argument over the issue, and you can tell that they're desperate to push this idea that killing isn't that bad, because after Adam lays out his argument of, I killed these people and because of that they won't hurt anyone else ever again, Hawkman doesn't even bother to give any sort of easy counter arguments that could offer a different perspective, and instead just says, but heroes don't kill people, and does nothing else to expand on this stance. It's hilarious.
Heroes don't
kill people.
Shut up, bitch!
Another thing that confused me is that this film is presumably set after the events of Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, right? And in those pieces of media, tensions grew between Amanda Waller and her underlings, who grew uncomfortable with her actions, and then everything surrounding Task Force X is revealed to the world at the end of Peacemaker. So presumably not only will people not want to be associated with Waller due to her actions, but she would most likely either be imprisoned for them or be on the run. But then in this film, not only is she not in prison, but she is running the Justice Society of America with the help of Harcourt. Come on, I get that the DCEU is a bit of a mess, but are you telling me that after all these years people still aren't talking to each other to make sure that their projects don't accidentally fuck each other up?
It's just dumb!
The film also tends to be all over the place to an almost unacceptable degree. This film is just over 2 hours long, and that's including the credits. And it also establishes a long list of new characters and locations within the world. And as such, trying to fit all of this stuff in alongside the action scenes just doesn't work well. We're constantly bouncing around all over the place, barely able to rest and appreciate any scenes before moving on. I guess another major complaint would be the fact that, just like every other bad comic book story, the plot changes how useful the heroes and their powers are when it's convenient for the plot to happen. The two most noticeable examples is when Black Adam is shown having super speed, and then never uses it to benefit him during dramatic or funny moments, and then how Dr. Fate will use a bunch of useful powers and then never use them again for the rest of the film. Sometimes one member of the Justice Society, usually Hawkman, will be doing something on screen, and the rest of the crew just won't be there to help. They'll just be waiting off screen for the plot to let them in. There's a woman and her annoying child that I really don't care for, especially when the child can't really act and gives cringy speeches. You can tell that a shitload of the child's voice lines are ADR. The fight scenes against regular people really aren't that graphic for a film that's trying to pride itself on how violent Adam is. They're about the same as Wonder Woman 1. And again, considering how Black Adam tries to pride itself on how Adam isn't a superhero, he's an anti-hero that gets the job done, that doesn't really matter when your opponent is Satan. Having an antagonist that was a bit more morally grey that we might have a problem with Adam killing would have made the whole topic of his killing and the morality of it more nuanced, if it wasn't for the fact that they're fighting a shitty Satan who just wants to kill everything.
Yee ass haircut.
I think the fight scenes are fine, the CGI is serviceable, and there is a joke that I enjoy where Adam just keeps bursting through people's walls, but that's about it.
Suppose they didn't have doors in your day.
I think I can sum up Black Adam by explaining that this is exactly what happens when someone overestimates their star power and marketability to try and not only sell a movie, but try and act like this is a new stage in the DC films, only for your hubris to lead to your undoing.
What hubris?
Dwayne Johnson came into this project very clearly expecting to be a hotshot, a Kevin Feige type individual, hyping up future projects and bringing Henry Cavill back, only for everything to fall apart because he tried to build a house that's on top of a shitty house that's on top of a shitty foundation.
Today, you have laid your first big fat egg of solid fuck.
So yes, if you want a mindlessly edgy action film, just turn this on for a little bit and then forget about it as soon as you finish it, because that's exactly what I intended to do until I came up with this gimmick of a video. So now that we've gotten through the Black Adam segment, let's move on to the film where Black Adam really should have been involved in. Now, if I had to describe the script writing process of Shazam: Fury of the Gods, I would say that it's very obvious that the people involved read a quick Wikipedia summary of what the plot of the first film was, and then proceeded to write the script around it without paying any attention to all the little details and arcs that were needed to carry over into this film.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
If you need an idea of just how lazy this film is, the end credits to the first Shazam film feature Dr. Sivana in prison, with another villain called Mr. Mind coming to him and trying to get a team up going. Not only did this film completely not bother to try and go with this setup, but the end credits of this film is literally the exact same end credit scene, just now Mark Strong has a beard. How fucking lazy do you have to be that you have no idea how to use this competently written character and this very niche character, so you ignore both of these characters to do your own watered down, shallow, one-dimensional villains, and then copy and pasting the exact same fucking end credit scene at the end of this film. Even the director did not give a shit about this movie he created. Even he knew that this was so shit that there was no point even defending it.
Did you get emotional when you put the wardrobe on?
No, I got paid.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie doesn't exactly get off to a good start. You've got the villains going into a museum in Greece for the job of stealing the staff of the wizard from the first film. Now I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why on earth the staff is sitting in a Greek museum. Ignoring the fact that you would expect Billy to use his brain and take the pieces away back to the Rock of Eternity, how the hell did this thing manage to travel to the opposite side of the planet? Is there no museums in the US that would have wanted this staff? And then, despite the fact that in the last film the wizard was drained of all of his power when he turned Billy into Shazam, here he apparently still has his powers, he's just imprisoned for some reason. And you can fix the staff by just holding it and shouting Shazam. How does this work? No clue.
All of this just works.
Speaking of how the staff works, in the previous movie the staff was mostly seen as a conduit weapon, used to enhance the lightning spells that Shazam has and giving the wearer the ability to transfer their power to other people. But now it can be used for pretty much whatever is needed for the plot, including resurrecting entire realms and people. Speaking of resurrecting stuff and doing what the plot demands, at the end of this movie after Billy dies and the staff is destroyed again, Wonder Woman just shows up and fixes everything. So first off, can someone explain to me how Gal Gadot has been playing this character for 7 fucking years and still cannot act? It is completely baffling to me. Secondly, how can Wonder Woman access this realm? I mean, she had no idea that she was a godlike being until the end of her solo film, at which point she has left their mascara and no longer has access to any wisdom from their history or from her mother. So how on earth would she have knowledge to show up into other realms? She literally just wanders in without any explanation on how she got there, or how she knew Billy needed reviving.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
And thirdly, speaking of reviving, how the hell can she just give the staff magic god powers? I thought the whole point of Shazam's magic was that it needed to come from the actual gods themselves, like a sort of blessing. But Wonder Woman isn't those gods. I know Zeus created her, but that doesn't mean she's going to have the powers of other gods like Hercules or Atlas. So how the hell can she just power up the staff and resurrect Billy?
That does not make sense.
Does this mean Billy is no longer powered by the powers of Shazam, but by the powers of Wonder Woman? Can he even be called Shazam now? Or would Wonder Woman Man be more appropriate? If Wonder Woman is the new source of the staff's powers and she dies, would that drain the power of the staff? If Billy uses his powers, does he drain them from Wonder Woman? To answer all of these questions is just don't think about it, because the writers certainly fucking didn't.
There's no time for that.
Shazam and the rest of the, Shazamily? Shazamily. Really, millions of dollars and that's what they came up with.
Oh wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Alright, so the Shazamily now have completely different suits compared to the first film. Why is that? Who knows or cares, they just do. They even do a flashback scene to when they first brought the staff to establish that they have the new costumes. Only they were so lazy that they couldn't be bothered to make one of the characters fly in the same scene.
It's disappointing.
And the film's opening scene, Jesus Christ. What the hell was that? For a start, you have Billy telling a registered therapist his entire life story, telling him everything he would need to know to put the pieces together and find out his secret identity, compromising himself and his family.
Good job.
And then there's the bridge sequence, where we're shown the writers forgot another thing. When Shazam shared his powers in the first film, he shared one specific trait to each of the gods to each of his siblings. Not all of them had super strength, not all of them had super speed, not all of them could fly. Well, fuck that, let's just have all of them have all the powers without any restraint. They're just Shazam 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 now. And then they get to the bridge and instead of immediately evacuating everyone away and securing the bridge, about half of them just muck around doing things like posing or making one-liners. All the while the bridge falls apart around them. Hell, the purple one, whatever her name is, instead of trying to help people, she decides to just take a bunch of people's cats. That's their cats, you fucking goblin. You can't just take them, that's stealing. Do not steal is one of the most basic rules a person can follow. How are you all this dense? Oh, actually, their idol is Superman, so that kind of makes sense.
Stop! You violated the law!
And the villains. Whoo boy, they're so well made. Do you prefer the Asian lady that is somehow Greek, the bland one who doesn't really have a purpose, or the not so evil one who's just there to switch team at the end to help the good guys? The humour is just, well, just is. It's not funny, it's not clever, it's just sort of there. I'm thinking back now and I genuinely cannot think of a single time I laughed at a joke this film makes.
Point that staff at us, we dodge. Like dodgeball.
Bazinga! Another thing I hate is how they treat the character of Shazam. Now, the first film, Billy is a young, immature child, so it makes sense that when he's Shazam, Shazam would also be immature. But in this film, it's almost like they're just two completely different characters. Billy has a lot of maturity in his scenes, while Shazam is constantly acting like a child. It's a complete mishandling of the character that just points towards the theory that the writers did just look at Wikipedia and that's it.
I'd work all night if it meant nothing got done.
They do that thing the other superhero films do, where the crush asks the character if they know the superhero, and then later they dress up as the hero and meet the crush as the superhero. Well, here they do something similar, except Freddy immediately turns into his super form while he's stuck on a roof with his crush. Now, she's one of the villains and she already knows about him, but if she was just a random girl, what was Freddy's plan here? Wouldn't it just be massively suspicious that he disappeared off the roof as soon as the superhero shows up?
What's the matter? Is he stupid?
The fights are boring and weightless, there's no real consequences in this movie. The acting is just fine, I guess, but nothing really stands out. There's also the fact that both the Justice League and the Justice Society are heavily referenced throughout the film, yet none of them really show up to help with what's going on. Which is weird because members of both appear in this film, yet no explanation is given as to why they didn't do anything during the film. There's also a weird perception of what is going on in the film and how people in the film react to it. Now, pretty early on in the film, once the villains start rolling, they put a massive dome around the city, with nothing getting in or out. Now, the consequences of this should be terrifying. Trucks carrying food, water, medicine and other supplies now cannot come into the city. People should be panic buying as soon as they discover what has happened. Supplies should be drained within a day. There would most likely be mass panics and riots. As less people have access to medicine, hospitals would be unable to accommodate patients. And without the National Guard, the police would be overwhelmed, and the death toll would be enormous. But that's not what happens in this movie. Everyone just goes about their regular business. Shazam goes to a local fast food place, casually orders some food, and we see outside that everything is just going on as normal. It's fucking bizarre. I get that it's a family-friendly movie, it's not trying to be like The Dark Knight Rises when that city gets cut off, but a little bit of panic would have done wonders for the film. Another thing that the movie emphasises is that they struggle to do their jobs properly, and I guess the film tries to play it off as them being uncoordinated and rushing into things, but actually they're just too stupid to do things properly. We've already been over the fact that they failed at the bridge scene, mostly due to the fact that they decided to mess around and steal people's fucking cats instead of actually evacuating people and fixing the bridge. We also get the end fight when Shazam chooses to waste time talking instead of fighting the dragon killing people. But despite how bad that is, at least the scene is trying to do something. But then we get this scene. Shazam calls a meeting between himself and Bland in order to try and get the city free. However, when it starts to go bad, he immediately tells all of his family to come down and help him. All of them come down and surround her. Now, the reason why this is dumb is because Shazam knows that there's more than just Bland. He saw all three of them when the dome came up, but instead of waiting for her to call in reinforcements so his family can surround them, he basically calls all of his family into a kill zone so they can get ambushed.
Forgot all about my family, didn't you, goddess?
No, human. You forgot about mine.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
They also arbitrarily decide when they want to use their super speed or not, using it when they want to rush into scenes but then refusing to do so when it would actually help them in combat most of the time.
Dumb bitch.
Shazam! Fury of the Gods is what happens when you create a sequel to a film that had a relatively good reception and charm to it, only to realise that absolutely no one involved in the sequel had any ideas on how to capitalise and improve on what came before. So in order to make up for the terrible plot and characters they wrote for this movie, they tried to focus on the film's humour by pelting it at you at 100 miles an hour.
I just threw a truck at a dragon. I love my life.
Shut the fuck up.
And then we have The Flash, a film that's so badly put together I've got no idea why this is the film that Warner Bros was seemingly hinging all of their bets on for superhero films last year. I can honestly say that The Flash is one of the worst examples of how fucking despicable comic book movies can be.
THR is reporting that Cruise loved the movie so much that he called Muschietti to rave about it, saying something to the effect that Flash is everything you want in a movie and this is the kind of movie we need now.
For a start, no one can even understand what universe this movie is supposed to take place in. For instance, this film tries so desperately to insist that it's part of the Snyderverse, referencing the time travel shown there, the fact that he can't move people without the risk of harming them, and several other smaller details that only took place in the Snyder Cut. But at the same time, Iris doesn't know that Barry is the Flash. Now, the film tries to use a throwaway line to hint that she might have remembered the car crash and Barry being there.
It's been a long time, huh? I feel like we saw each other like a few years ago, right?
But I'm sorry, that's just bullshit. If I was throwing out my car in a badly constructed car crash scene that really needed better choreography, only to find out that an old friend was holding me safely from the wreckage before lightning appeared around us and they disappeared in the blink of an eye, somehow I think I would remember that. So yeah, the Flash seems incredibly confused about its own existence between these two universes. It also seems confused about the fact that having a character that can move and react to things at the speed of light, only to have them do nothing or get beaten up by other things, just makes them come across as grossly incompetent. A good example is throughout the opening of the film. Flash takes his time and fails to react to hazards to try and make the stakes seem more real. And then later on, well, let's just say that any of the fights he has that aren't against the Kryptonian ships should have been trivial at best. So the fact that they keep lasting as long as they do is definitely something.
Could you be more worthless?
One thing I will praise this film about right off the bat, get it, bat, Bazinga, is about 90% of the Batfleck stuff. I was never a great fan of this depiction of the character, especially when master strategist and expert detective Batman kept fucking up at numerous points where it made me question if he was just trying to get himself killed. But besides a bit of humour that made me want to submerge my head underneath the water until all the pain stopped,
I'd do a lot better just give you all that money. If I really want to end crime, I should end poverty.
I liked his performance in this movie. The action with him was decent, making a perfect blend of grounded vigilante and bigger-than-life comic book character, and he had a hidden warmth and wisdom behind him that reminded me a lot of animated Batman. He even has a great Batman voice, one I wish we had heard more instead of the voice filter he used before. Like I said, this scene still caused a lot of damage and the suit is certainly a design choice, but overall I wanted to see more of him, which I guess makes it a bitter irony that his best appearance just so happened to be his last. Oh, and Gal Gadot is here as Wonder Woman again. She still can't act and is still accompanied by that soundtrack that has become so overused that it makes me wish for death every time I hear it. Of all the characters in the DCEU, it just blows my mind that the one that appears the most is the one that has the acting range that would make a soggy plank of wood seem talented in comparison.
Boy takes as much as it gives. Yes, you.
What else is noticeable about this film? Oh yeah, the CGI. You know how in LA Noire the motion capture and the graphics make us look at some questionable people pulling some very odd facial expressions? Now imagine that is in a 2023 movie that has nearly the same budget as Avatar: The Way of Water. The amount of bad CGI has already been mocked to oblivion, but come on, there's no way to defend this when there's some pieces of media from decades ago that has entire characters be CGI throughout the entire movie and it looks flawless.
Disgusting!
So, what is the plot about? Well, it's a very watered down version of Flashpoint, because apparently that's the only Flash story that any of these fuckers know how to make. After running so fast, he ends up in a time sphere that allows him to go back into the past events. After talking to Bruce about time travel and fully acknowledging that changing his past could completely destroy everything, Barry decides to do it anyways and save his mother. Now, a character having a flaw and messing up isn't a problem. A problem that arises from this decision is when a character sees that they've messed up, complains about it, messes up even more, and then their plan to fix things is
smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Despite all of the changes he's made to the timeline, when Zod comes along and tells everyone he's going to destroy everything, Barry decides he's going to stop that too. As I said, he fucks up, realizes he fucked up, complains about things being fucked up, and then repeats the cycle until the end.
You suck!
So Barry is shunted into this timeline by a mysterious shadowy figure, and after giving his younger self powers, he ends up recruiting his younger self to help him try and fix everything. Because for some reason the same lightning and chemicals that gave his younger self powers also somehow remove them from him. It removes them, meaning he is now an ordinary human, but a lightning bolt going straight through his heart and his brain doesn't kill him.
What the fuck?
Anyway, so he and his superpowered younger self try and find Bruce Wayne, who he hopes can help him take on Zod, only to discover Keaton Batman. So, fun fact about this movie, the reason why Batman is retired here not out fighting crime is because apparently he wiped out a lot of the crime in Gotham, leaving him nothing really to do, which would explain his hermit lifestyle and relaxed but upbeat personality.
Things have changed. Gotham's now one of the safest cities in the world.
But despite giving this reasoning in the film, for some reason, no clue why, the director also came along and decided to say that the reason why this Batman retired is actually because he killed a criminal in front of their child. Now, Keaton's Batman wasn't exactly a big keeper of the no-kill rule, but this feels like an extra bit of explanation that damages the film. So I'm not sure why you wouldn't just not say this and just keep the explanation in the film, but whatever.
What the hell is this?
So the Barrys and Batman try and find Superman, but it turns out that Supergirl is here instead. After initially refusing to help them, because why the fuck would she, Kara magically changes her mind and decides to help them.
Okay.
Just in time to be there for Zod's starting attack. Speaking of Zod, he makes no sense here either. So in Man of Steel, which my video on it you should watch, cough cough, it is established that the reason Zod managed to find Clark is because he activated the scout ship and drew Zod's attention. Now that obviously didn't happen here, so how did Zod find Earth? Well, apparently he was following the signal on Supergirl's ship, and somehow it took him over 3 decades to get to Earth for some reason. How incredibly convenient.
Well, isn't that just fucking convenient?
So they all fight in the desert, and somehow Supergirl and the Flashes keep losing, despite being able to move at the speed of light and being an indestructible tank, with many nonsensical and hilarious deaths being given to Batman and Supergirl.
No!
Acting.
After trying for a second time and not being bothered anymore, Barry gives up, so the other Barry has to keep trying to make things right, but he just keeps failing over and over and over again. Original Barry then encounters the speedster who trapped him in this timeline in the first place, revealed to be an older version of the younger Barry who never stopped trying to fix things. Hey movie, remember before when younger Barry was incapacitated by a single bullet to the knee and needed time to heal? What do you think several hundred pieces of jagged metal impaled into his body would do?
What a load of bullshit.
Then we get the cameo scenes. I mean, everything about this has already been said. The cameos look bad, the cameos are disrespectful, the cameos are lazy and they could have done some better and unique ones, as well as the fact that there's just no reason for this to happen. It's just wanky fan service.
Robots, I have sworn to never kill humans, but when I find out who's behind this, he's going to die.
So Edgelord tries to kill Barry, but Younger gets in the way and they both end up dying. Barry goes into the past and tries to undo his mistake, but not before saying goodbye to his mother, where we get a lovely scene of Ezra Miller not being able to act and needing CGI tears inserted into his scenes.
Acting.
And then, instead of just fixing the past, Barry decides that he hasn't learnt the message of the film and changes shit again, swapping where the tomatoes are so his dad will get out of prison, inserting him into a new timeline where Batman is George Clooney. The other version of Barry just disappeared, and this Barry has now left his dad to just rot in prison alone. What a terrific way to end your film. Right. As you can tell, all of these films are just terrible. I really struggle to understand how after COVID happened, where every production shut down and it gave writers even more time to write and improve their ideas, that when everything started back up again, the media industry has somehow gotten worse, especially in the superhero department. Overall, I do think it was a good choice to end this universe now instead of dragging it off further into fatigue. Because if the level of quality the future films would go through would be anything like the level of quality on display in these last few films, then this would have destroyed the DC brand harder than modern politicians destroy Western society. Boy! Thanks for watching, lads and lasses. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Sharing always helps, and if you're feeling really generous, please consider my Patreon or YouTube membership. I also have a Twitter and occasionally I do live streams. But most of all, I just hope you had a great day and hopefully I will see you in the next video.